Oh, I love the Underdog app. Fast breaks, buzzer beaters, and block parties are back, and Underdog is the best place to get in on all the action. Get your picks right, and you could win up to 5,000 times your cash this week on Underdog. I'm looking at Dodgers Blue Jays and selecting Vlad Guerrero Jr. for higher than 7.5 fantasy points and Shohei Ohtani for higher than an 11.5 fantasy points. Download the app today, Underdog, and use promo code OUTOFBOUNDS to score $100 in bonus funds or bonus entries when you play your first $5. That's promo code OUTOFBOUNDS. Underdog. Make picks. Win money.
Must be 18 and older and present in Mississippi. Terms apply. See assets.underdogfantasy.com/web/play and get terms _DFS_.html for details. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.ncp.gambling.org.
We are live in the Bank Plus studio, Out of Bounds, ESPN 105.9 The Zone. We welcome in Mike Detillier, WWL Radio TV New Orleans, LSU insider. LSU felt like it was too much, and they fired Brian Kelly on Sunday. They were embarrassed Saturday by A&M, and they are going to move on, and they are now in the coaching sweepstakes, and we'll see who they land. But we bring in Mike. And Mike, so now that LSU has moved on from Brian Kelly, in your opinion, who is the number one candidate that they're trying to target to replace Brian Kelly?
Well, if I knew exactly who would be doing the hiring, I could give you a better answer. Because, one thing with Louisiana, you never really know on who's making that final call. Because Scott Woodward, certainly has he's always been a bit of a big game hunter when you look at his hires. Kim Mulkey, bringing her in from Baylor after, Coach Mulkey had great success there, and she's had great success at LSU. Jay Johnson had a lot of success, certainly, at Arizona, and then bringing him in as the baseball coach. Brian Kelly, to be honest with you, had success at Notre Dame. I don't think when Brian was hired, he was the number one guy on Scott Woodward's list, but you look back at what he's done in the past, he has always sort of had that persona to go after people with credentials. The biggest misperception is that, they got people in Louisiana that they don't have enough money to go after who they want. That's not exactly true. Living here all my life, I can tell you, they got people with money here, and they would put their hand on a Bible and swear to you they ain't got a nickel. I mean, that's just the way they are, and especially of a certain generation. I don't have no money, but yet they do. Money will not be the issue for LSU. It will be fit. And does Scott Woodward make that call? Because we saw, and it was evident, the governor of Louisiana, Jeff Landry, got involved with this heavily. He was posting out even before the game that there had been a Board of Supervisors meeting and a raise of ticket prices and parking passes. And about, hey, you guys better rethink that. So already he's gotten himself involved with this. It's not a first. He's in a long line. Huey Long years ago, when he was governor of the state, and he ruled it like no one else. I remember my grandfather telling me that, he'd make, comments that if I wasn't the governor of the state of Louisiana and then he became a senator, I would be the head coach at LSU. Okay, can you imagine a politician? Hey, I'm taking over, and that's what he did. A few years back, Boone, you might remember this. There was a lot of kind of a beat of the drum that Les Miles was going to get fired at the end of the season, and actually the players put Les They beat Texas A&M at the end of the season. They put Les on their shoulders and they rode him off the field. He was going to get relieved of his duties by Joe Oliva that night. But a phone call came to the AD, and Bobby Jindal, the then governor of Louisiana, said, "You're not firing Les Miles." And Oliva, okay, I won't fire him.
Wow.
Well, it took him halfway into the next season, and he was gone. But Louisiana governors and people with tremendous amounts of money do have some say in this. I would think that, to answer your question, the number one guy on LSU's list, and I think that he had an interest in it years ago, but because of ties to Ed Orgeron and other things, he was not high on Scott Woodward's list at that point, was Lane Kiffin. I have no doubt that people who have substantial means have made it known that they would want Lane Kiffin at LSU. Now, again, that's going to be up to Coach Kiffin on exactly what he wants to do, how he wants to handle this. I'm sure he's the number one guy on Florida's list also. So it's going to be an interesting twist here, because I've heard from way too many people that maybe, he's not Scott Woodward's top guy, but Scott Woodward may be told, either you try to land him or guess what? We got somebody that's going to take your place. LSU does not have a school president right now.
Oh.
So basically, Governor Landry kind of runs the show now completely. I do think by sometime next week, they will have a new school president at LSU,
Okay.
and he's a Cajun guy just like me. Who I think it'll be. In fact, he grew up farther down the bayou than I did, so he's about 10 years younger. But and he's the president at McNeese right now.
Okay.
I suspect that they will have, and who I'm talking about is Wade Roos.
Okay.
I suspect that they will have a new president, and he will oversee what is happening behind the scenes. A lot of people bring up Dan Lanning, and I would have to do a little bit more research on this. Dan Lanning's buyout at Oregon is huge. The other part is he actually has a personal services contract with Nike tied to Phil Knight, which makes it even more complicated if any team is trying to lasso Dan Lanning from Oregon. It would make it pretty difficult, and he got it pretty sweet over there. I know one thing, the guy that's in charge at Oregon, I know he knows how to cut a check.
That's damn
he
sure.
He knows how to write one, and it won't bounce.
No. When you're worth $40 billion, you're good.
I would think Lane Kiffin would certainly be very, very high on the list if he's not the number one guy. If you go back to what Woodward has done in the past, it has been someone with credentials and a sort of a lengthy credential list. The intriguing name is a guy 60 miles south and east of you, John Sumrall at Tulane, because John is going to also, like Lane, he's going to be heavily sought after in this offseason. Remember, he's an Alabama guy. Auburn, I think, would certainly be a school very interested. Arkansas also is another school that I think would be very interested in John Sumrall. Man, it's like a novel, and you only got to chapter 2 yet.
Mike Detillier on the Out of Bounds show and the Farm Bureau Insurance guest line. I agree with you on LSU having plenty of money, and that alumni base when they get revved up and focused and locked in. So Lane Kiffin possibly. I mean, yeah, he is a candidate. Dan Lanning, you make a good point. Poaching him may be impossible financially. And then you got Summerall, maybe Jeff Brom at Louisville. Do you think they'll get in the Joe Brady? There's talk that Joe Brady and Penn State are flirting like crazy, but that Joe's also trying to figure out if there could be another, that there will be several job openings, as you know, Mike D, in the NFL. What do you make of that? Anything?
I think with Joe, and just I'm not pals with Joe or close friends with him, but I know him enough to know he's not a great recruiter. He's let it be known. He doesn't care for what's happening in college football, the way the recruiting is. I've always felt once Joe went to the NFL, his eventual goal would be to be a head coach at the NFL level.
Okay.
And you just wonder a little bit, what happens if the Bills don't make it to Super Bowl Sunday?
Right.
Is their coach safe, so to speak? But I think Joe will get his opportunity to be an NFL head coach. I've never looked at Joe as a college coach. He has openly talked about disdain of what he sees in college football on the recruiting part. And he came from the college ranks initially. He was at William & Mary. And actually Sean Payton hired him because Sean got the idea that maybe college concepts could be used in the pro game. And Sean was way ahead of his time with that.
Oh, yeah.
And Joe was able to bring that in. And actually, Joe went to a little seminar at LSU to show them what they were doing with the Saints. And that's when Ed Orgeron heard him, saw him, and said, I want to bring that guy in. Because he was a GA. He was going to get donuts and biscuits and passing the car through the car wash with the Saints while he wasn't doing a film breakdown of college concepts that could be used in the pros. But I've always felt Joe would not re-enter the college game.
Okay.
To be honest with you, I think another guy to watch is Jed Marsh at Washington.
Oh, Jed Fish. Yeah.
Jed Fish. Excuse me. At Washington, great success at Arizona. A very good recruiter, young guy. He didn't grow up in Florida, but he coached there. And I'm wondering if, let's say 1 and 2 are off the list at Florida, would Jed be the guy for the Gators?
Yeah, he worked under Spurrier, right?
Yes, he did. And he was a coach in the Gainesville area.
Okay.
Also, so he knows that area very well. Fish is, he is a really, really, really good coach. And it's going to be an off season. We had Ross Dallinger on last night, and Ross was like, Mike, you said this a couple of weeks ago, and you were right. This is going to be the most adventurous off season I think we've ever seen in college football. That all these openings, and wait, Florida State hasn't made that decision yet. Well, I think maybe they have, and they just haven't made it known. Auburn, what could potentially happen there? And okay, that's a lot of jobs now popping open all over the place, and who knows where else now? But I give Pete Jenkins, 84 years old, former defensive line coach for many, many years, and we have Pete on regular. And right after James Franklin got fired, Bo, he made a comment to me over the air, but he had told me off the air the same way. I think with Franklin's firing, because he said, with Jimbo getting fired at A&M, that was a bit of an anomaly. Not everybody's got that type of money to pay a coach off to ride into the sunset. But he said, no coach now is safe in college football. No matter how successful you've been, no coach is safe. And he said that should send a shiver down their spine. And you think about Franklin, he was one game away from playing in the national championship game, and he gets fired midway into the next season. Okay, you look at, what happened here at LSU with Brian Kelly, and I would have, I've said this on this program and others. I didn't think he was going. I thought he'd have another year at LSU. To be honest with you, his boss, he's the one who hired him. And he did give him an out. He did give him an opportunity to save his bacon, but they got into a heated discussion on people they should keep, and he took the powder and he was out. But he did have that opportunity, but it was just the inevitability with Brian. He just knew it. The crazy thing is, we do a pregame show for LSU, Herb Tyler and I, for WWL every week. We're at Acme Oyster House, about a mile from Tiger Stadium.
Okay.
It is packed in there for the A&M game. It's serpentined outside. So when I walk in, I got to walk kind of through a few people, and they kind of got me in. I'd never seen that many people. And yet, those the most subdued I've seen LSU fans in all these years we've done it. It reminds me a little bit of, when you live out in the country like I do, the animals sort of tell you when bad weather's coming.
Sure.
They're not around. They were so subdued, as though, man, we're not real sure. This could get ugly tonight, and fast. They were right. It got ugly in the third quarter.
Woo!
And I think at the end of the third quarter, you say, you know what? Brian's not going to survive this. He's not going to be able to survive this part, the play on the field, but also the way the fans turned on him and LSU people real quick. There was no salvaging this.
Wow. Mike Detillier, WWL Radio TV New Orleans, LSU Insider. He joins us on the Out of Bounds Show, brought to you by Sound and Communications. For your next video wall for your business or school, soundcomav.com. Brian Kelly out. We'll see what LSU can do. So, Mike, it sounds like, and this is a good floor, and I know it'll depend on, like you said, Auburn, and with Summerall's ties to as an Alabama guy, and he went to Kentucky, although he's not going to pick Kentucky over LSU. But
I'd stay away from Kentucky if I was John. I do a show with John each week.
Do you?
Yeah, John and I, yeah. We've had Coach Summerall ever since he took the job at Tulane. I do a Tuesday show at 4:30.
Smart.
With John Summerall on WWL. Yeah. Man, listen, Willie was a good guest. Coach Fritz, man, I think the world of him. He was a great guy, terrific coach.
Yeah.
But, I've said this before, and I've told this to Coach Summerall. You got a good to very good team. There's one superstar on that team. It's you.
Yeah.
And he gives, oh, come on. He said, you soft soaping me. No. Ain't no soft soaping. No, that dude, he's going to be a big-time coach and real quick. I can tell.
Okay, so he's the floor. And that is a high floor. So if Lanning can't be lifted because it's a fortune,
I think it would be difficult. Really.
And then if Lane decides to stay in Oxford or go somewhere else or goes to the NFL, whatever. All right. So the floor, and you haven't mentioned James Franklin, so it doesn't sound like you can. I think a lot of people, even though he's a good coach, people look at it like you can't really repackage that and put a bow on it right now, maybe. Some school, Arkansas would love him, and there's nothing wrong with that, and Kentucky would love him, but probably can't do that at LSU. So what you're saying is, if the two biggest names in Lane and Lanning can't be had, it sure sounds like it's John Summerall. Mike, is that kind of where you're going?
I think he would certainly be in the strong mix for it. Now, here's the thing. With LSU people saying, we're going to hire little brother's coach, at Tulane, there is that part in that. And remember, hey, this ain't the first time it happened. Billy Napier. Think about that a few years back. Billy was at University of Louisiana, in Lafayette. And Billy had made it known he would love that LSU job. but I don't think he really got an interview at all with Scott Woodward. I doubt that ever happened. Would that happen now with Summerall? Because John's one of the two things going to have to get through their heads. Either you hire him or you play against him. Because I think he's going to end up being an SEC head coach. Wow. Either you hire him or you're going to have to play against him. And I would think he is really on top of the list at Auburn or in Arkansas.
Wow. So if Cohen may have decided that he knew. Okay, so Cohen kept his powder dry last weekend. Didn't fire Freeze. Freeze wins a game. He's probably hoping like all get out that somehow Freeze can get this thing maybe rolling a little bit, because he knows that if he gets in this mix, he's not winning the Summerall sweepstakes between LSU. LSU's the best job open. Look, to me, Mike D, I got to go, but it's LSU, Georgia, and Ohio State. They're the best jobs in the country because they don't have any other, big boy schools. I know Georgia Tech's playing well, and that's great and wonderful. But okay, all right. So John, they're all talking. They know what's going on. He knew Kelly was going to get, and if Landry wants him, then LSU's getting Summerall. Okay, all right. This makes sense now. Okay.
Yeah, and the thing with it,
and Auburn can win this weekend against Kentucky. I mean, I guess they could lose, but they should.
But are you just putting off the inevitable?
That's a good point. I can't figure out what's going on with you.
It has to, I think, and it was sort of the same thing with Brian Kelly. Are you just putting off the inevitable here? If you gave him another year, and he would have changed offensive coordinators and his offensive line coach and that sort of thing, aren't you just sort of putting off the inevitable? And I think it came to that point. And listen, that buyout still being negotiated. That's still a huge buyout. But one person with LSU ties has decided to pick up that buyout for LSU.
Whoa.
One donor has decided, hey,
who is it?
Give me the bill, and I'm going to pay it.
Okay.
So think about that. People, they ain't got no money here in Louisiana. What? You kidding yourself? I've lived here all my life. They got people, again, who would swear to you they don't have a nickel, and yet they got cash. Listen, you pass down this bayou and in the River Parish or on the North Shore, and then come back and tell me that they don't have money in this state. But
y'all have plenty.
Yeah, this is an anonymous donor who doesn't even live in the state of Louisiana, quite frankly. And he wants to keep it under wraps. And I get that, because then they pass the collection plate in front of you. They find out exactly who you are. But
Thanks, Mike D.
Give it a bill.
Love you, buddy. We'll talk next week. See you, man.
Thank you, Bo.